The tropical wave we've been monitoring in the Atlantic, now highlighted by the Hurricane Center for potential development in the Caribbean next week. Your forecast across the Caribbean and the Bahamas starts right now.
This is Meteo Mundo.
Hi, my friends. Rusty back here at Meteo Mundo. We are your home for Caribbean weather, and it's great to see you for this latest video. Hope you're doing well. Coming up in this video, the wave we've been watching, now highlighted by the Hurricane Center for a development chance in the Caribbean. I've got all the newest information. We'll look at the models. What are the possibilities and scenarios out of this as we move to the end of this week and early next week? Some very impactful weather in the area today as well. Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the leading law firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys. Yes, it is storm season. You get storm damage of any kind to your property. They can walk you through the insurance claim process. Go to leanonmelaw.com if you would like more information. As always, love to hear from you guys. Let me know in the comment section below what's been happening in your area as we move along. You have a question about the forecast, feel free to drop it in the comment section below. Now, obviously, this is a big story, but we do have a few days to be watching this before there's any potential development close to our area. So I actually want to start the video with some impactful storms and some flooding conditions in the Eastern Caribbean for today. And then I promise you we are going to deep dive into that tropical wave with the highlighted potential development. But we have some significant storms, some significant flooding ongoing in the eastern side of the area on this Thursday. I'm going to bring up the wind gusts as well here, so just give me a second. Again, if you guys watched yesterday's video, there is a trough that is moving through the Eastern Caribbean and into the Lesser Antilles, combining with the tropical wave that's been over this area, and now you just have this wide swath of hefty showers and storms. There are flash flood and flood watches and warnings and advisories up for most of the Lesser Antilles and the Virgin Islands through Friday morning. It is area dependent. Always check in with your local government and officials, because when we're talking about flooding, things can change on a dime very, very quickly. But as of the recording of this video late on this Thursday, we have some really hefty thunderstorms moving across places like Antigua and Montserrat and Guadeloupe, trying to drift south down towards the Dominica area. Look at all the lightning strikes. We've had numerous islands with at least 2 to 3 inches of rain today. That's 50 to 75 millimeters, but an additional 2 to 4 inches is possible through Friday morning. There are going to be some spots that end up getting more than 6 inches of rain through Friday morning. That's more than 150 millimeters. That's why we have all of the flood advisories up for most of the areas that you see on this map here through Friday morning. Earlier in the day, it was rougher a little bit farther north, but the trough is drifting south. So improving a bit, Barbuda, St. Kitts and Nevis, Sava, St. Eustatius, St. Martin, St. Bart's, Anguilla. Nice fresh breeze here. And there's still the opportunity late Thursday evening and overnight for additional storms to redevelop. I mean, the first heavy cluster has moved south, but there's a lot more moisture in the atmosphere here over the Virgin Islands. And you can clearly see that. Look at Road Town Tortola, a 40-mile-an-hour wind gust as these thunderstorms develop right over the islands. We've had some heftier showers and storms over portions of the Virgin Islands for today. We've had some scattered rain over Puerto Rico. There's additional heavy thunderstorms that bend back towards portions of the Dominican Republic and Haiti. And again, this trough axis is elongated east to west all the way into the Western Caribbean, all the way towards the Cayman Islands. So again, really impactful storms for today. Got a couple of pictures and videos to show you from this area. This is from Edgar earlier. Look at the lightning in Antigua. Look at that lightning strike. Edgar, a fantastic video. Again, this is not just some tropical downpours. There's a lot of convection. There's a lot of thunderstorm activity really producing some high rainfall totals. Joost van Dyke, live look from our friends at the Soggy Dollar Bar. Not a bad shot here. Again, there's been some passing showers in the BVI. You saw the wind gusts over the Tortola area, but it is a little bit more isolated at this point in time here in the Virgin Islands. But Joost van Dyke is an area that could see additional showers and storms thunderstorms tonight and overnight and into Friday. Also have the live radar to show you guys out of Puerto Rico, so let's go ahead and do that for you real quickly as well. And again, at this point in time over Puerto Rico, it's relatively quiet. I do expect more rain to develop late Thursday and on Friday. There's the thunderstorms that rolled through Tortola, Virgin Gorda, and Anegada. Again, there's more storms to the north, and then look at all of the activity here in portions of the eastern side of the DR from Santo Domingo to Punta Cana. We continue to have more flood advisories and elevated flood conditions in portions of the Dominican Republic as we've gone deeper through this Thursday, and that's an area that I will consider to monitor here. But again, 2 to 3 inches of rain, 50 to 75 millimeters, and a lot of the areas where you see the thunderstorms developing, and they're not moving very quickly. So again, the flooding concerns continue to be elevated there. Now, the farther south that we go into the Lesser Antilles, it's been quieter so far for today, but we'll see how far south this activity wants to go before it ultimately dies out. This is a live look to Corinth, St. Lucia. As you guys know, we have the live cameras here at Meteo Mundo to really help tell your weather story. Again, at this point in time, it's a little bit quieter this far south in the island chain. And this was a shot from earlier of St. Vincent, man. Unbelievable shot, 1,600 feet up. Mary Bernard sends this beautiful photo there. Look at the hues in the sky. I just love this because this is almost like violet or indigo here. And then you get into the blues, and then you get into those orange there as you get closer to the horizon. Mary, thank you for sending in that picture. So again, active weather, flooding conditions continuing. If you guys live in these areas, please let me know in the comments section below what's been happening there. Now, we're not done because there's additional thunderstorms that continue to break out west along that trough line, especially through Jamaica and portions of the Cayman Islands. It's been another very active day for today. We've had some healthy thunderstorms over the Kingston area. St. Catherine Parish has had some good showers and storms, and some of that continues late on this Thursday afternoon and early evening. The thunderstorms are racing from the Kingston area back into St. Andrew and Portland and St. Thomas parishes. A few more thunderstorms are scattered on the western side. Again, locally heavy downpours again across the island of Jamaica. Not everyone, but a lot. Pretty widespread on this Thursday. If you guys have gotten some of that, let me know in the comments section below. The Cayman Islands, another area impacted by this trough. Again, it's been a significant weather maker for today. Thunderstorms over Little Cayman and Cayman Brac, over the Grand Cayman area as well. Just making sure I still have these wind gusts on. At least we haven't had these strong winds outside of where we've had the thunderstorms really blow up here at this point. And some of that activity is trying to sneak back towards Cancun and Cozumel, though the northeast sides of Quintana Roo. So we'll keep an eye on that. Moisture's a little bit more limited here, but at the hour, Cancun and Cozumel are starting to see some thunderstorms move in. So that's where the active weather is on this Thursday. But again, quite significant. And I highlight this because we're getting significant rain and storms right now, and this doesn't even take into account what is likely to move into the area over the weekend and early in the week. So now let's get into this tropical outlook. As you guys know, we've been talking about this tropical wave here on the channel the last couple of days. Hurricane Center is highlighting it. Now, at this point in time, it's a very elongated, it's very sloppy. There's no signs of organization at this point in time, and I'm not expecting this to organize at least over the next day or two. Please note that the Hurricane Center has X where marks the spot, but you notice this line goes all the way into the Eastern Caribbean before you get this polygon. Here's what the Hurricane Center's thinking is on this. They do not expect this to develop until it gets into the Eastern Caribbean and maybe the Central Caribbean, and that's why you have the yellow area here. So they're saying, hey, we know that there's this wave, but we expect there to be very little development until it actually gets into the Eastern Caribbean early next week. Now, some of the models still want to try and develop this east of the Lesser Antilles by late this weekend, and I'll show you that coming up. But right now, the Hurricane Center's thinking, and most of the models don't have a true tropical storm going through the Lesser Antilles late this weekend and early into next week. But that doesn't mean that there's not going to be another huge area of rain and storms and very windy conditions, and that doesn't mean there's at least not a chance that it could develop before then. But please note that what we've been, going over scenario-wise the last couple of days, the Hurricane Center is also highlighting as well. So the Caribbean early to mid next week does look like an area we're going to have to really, really closely monitor. So let's get into the tropical outlook. Of course, I got a lot of different models for you guys. We're going to break it down very simply for you. So let's dive into this. Again, I'm going to take it out about a week. And let me be clear, there's a couple of things here. The Hurricane Center is highlighting this area, right? And most of the models are highlighting some development in the Caribbean next week. But man, there is no consensus whatsoever as to exactly when it could develop, where it's going to go, and how strong it's going to be. And I got to be honest, that is very common when we're this far out. Again, this wave is well more than 1,000 miles from the Lesser Antilles at this point in time. Let's go from Barbados out and see here, just to give you an idea. It's what, 1,400 miles away. We've got plenty of time to monitor. But again, impacts are likely to come with this system as it begins to work its way in. So let's start with the GFS model. I'm just going to drop off that tropical development area so a little bit easier for you guys to see. So we're simply looking at the reflectivity. Now again, as we get into the weekend, this is going to be early on Sunday morning, we'll start to see some moisture, if nothing else, move into the Lesser Antilles. On the GFS, it has more impacts for the Windward Islands. So Barbados and St. Lucia, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, Grenada, TNT, eventually towards Nueva Esparta, again, with waves of rain beginning to move in. But it's a very sloppy, disorganized system and has yet to develop on the GFS. However, as we get into Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday of next week, Wednesday is the 22nd, Thursday is the 23rd, you start to see the system slow down near the ABC Islands, south of the Dominican Republic, Haiti, and Puerto Rico, and begin to wrap up. And somewhere along this area is where most of the models have this cyclogenesis, your beginnings of a developing system. So by next Thursday evening, again, simply 1 week out from now, you start to see a system really begin to wrap up. Now, let me be clear again. We're going to look at the ensemble products and all the different members of all of that. There is no consensus as to where this might go once it develops. Some of them push it north towards the Greater Antilles, others push it west and keep it running towards Central America. But the latest run of the GFS, a couple of notes. Again, no development before the Lesser Antilles, but significant rain and wind impacts there beginning early on Sunday, and then starting to see more of a development here throughout the early to mid part of next week as it slows down. And that's one of the things the other models start to pick up on as well, is as it moves into the eastern and especially into the central Caribbean, if it gets that far west, it's likely to slow up a bit. A lot of the models kind of have it stalling out and really kind of developing as it does so, rather than having more forward speed in the Caribbean, at least initially. We'll see how it plays out. This is the winds from the same model, the GFS. Sustained winds at the surface. Again, we'll stop it on Sunday morning. Now, ahead of whatever broad circulation may come through, and you notice it's a very low latitude here on the GFS, almost scraping South America. That's the one thing about this storm. Unfortunately, I don't think there's an escape route with this one, right? We've seen so many of the systems developing in the MDR of the Atlantic go far north in latitude and miss the Lesser Antilles. I mean, obviously here we had Jerry Scrape as an example, but this one's basically going due west. So we start to pick up some broad winds across the Eastern Caribbean throughout the day on on Sunday, but nothing developing until we get into kind of like Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Thursday of next week. And again, you have a wrapped up system here, relatively impressive by next Thursday evening. By the way, Melissa is the next named storm of the hurricane season, and the GFS model does have the Eastern Caribbean a named storm by next Wednesday and into Thursday. This is what it looks like on the European ensemble. Just like yesterday, the European is one that does develop this system before it moves into the Eastern Caribbean. It is kind of the lone wolf in that, but there is not complete model agreement that this stays a broad, disorganized system before it gets into the Caribbean. So again, if you live in the Lesser Antilles, you should expect rain and wind impacts beginning at the latest early Sunday through at least portions of Monday, but we'll have to monitor if there is a closed low. It's something that wants to wrap up with more wind impacts across the southern half of the Lesser Antilles through Sunday and Monday. We'll pick up the same model into the Eastern Caribbean deeper into next week. Just like yesterday, there is going to be this bifurcation or this split in the models as to where this might go. Now, I've taken you out through Friday here because the European model is a little bit slower overall from the GFS and slightly farther west. Now again, this is the same storm, but on these ensemble products, members of the same model, they're going to have different tracks, different speeds, and different intensities, right? Because some of the initial conditions that the models go off of are estimated. So what they do is they have these ensemble members start with slightly different initial conditions, each of them, and then see how it plays out over time. And so this is how you get the spread from the same model. Some of them have it into the Atlantic, near Turks and Caicos. Others are closer to Central America, but you can clearly see that the European ensembles begin to develop this storm, and some of it on the stronger side, mid to even late in the week. And it's slightly farther west compared to the GFS in the Caribbean. This is the AI version of the European ensembles. Again, a couple of developed lows near the Lesser Antilles, but more and more develop the system again towards the end of next week. It's a little bit slower, so this is kind of late Friday night of next week, about 8 days out. But notice that on the AI version, there's an even more widespread area. You've got some all the way up here in the Western Atlantic Basin and some closer to Central America. So there is this still big split on all of the models of a quicker north turn or a slower system that kind of chugs along into the central and the western sides of the Caribbean. And look, at this point in time, there's nothing to say that one has a better understanding of where this might end up going. So now we pick up the GFS again. I showed you the deterministic on the weather system. This is the ensemble members, just like you saw from the other models. Again, we have some that develop quicker, generally a little bit north and east, closer to the Virgin Islands and Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, and others that are a little bit slower that are farther south still in the Caribbean. But again, the GFS is quicker to develop and farther east compared to the European models at this point in time, right? But just to show you again, most of the GFS models begin to develop this system in the Eastern Caribbean by Monday and Tuesday. This is the Google DeepMind model. This is an ensemble product as well. Now the ensemble mean is your darker blue dashed line, meaning the average of all of them. Friends, this time yesterday, it was west towards the Yucatan. Now it's basically turned 90 degrees to go due north. But look at all of the different other ensemble members of the Google DeepMind. You have several, again, where they do north track. From here, you have several that push west and then try and turn north. But you notice that all of these lines are kind of all squaggly next to each other. The Google DeepMind at this point in time really slows the storm down and kind of develops it southeast of Jamaica over a 24 to 48 hour period, Tuesday, Wednesday, before it begins to pick up speed again. So the Google DeepMind really has almost a stationary system trying to wrap up here south and east of Jamaica Tuesday and Wednesday of next week. But again, there's no big consensus from the Google DeepMind as well. So here's what you need to know. Here's the bottom line, at least as of today, right? There's an increasing chance of a tropical development in the Caribbean next week. Now, it could develop before the Lesser Antilles, but at this time, at least right now, it appears less likely. Most models agree on development. There is no consensus, though, as to where this will go and how strong it will be. And I know there'll be some comments that will say, oh, great, he doesn't know where it's going to go. He doesn't know how strong it's going to be. Why does it matter? What matters is you guys are getting the heads up. 5 to 7 day lead time to understand that there could be impacts moving into the Eastern and the Central Caribbean. And that's the bottom line. At least we have this ability to know that there are potential impacts down the road, even though we don't know precisely where they're going to be yet, but we can watch and wait together. And so if you live in the Eastern and the Central Caribbean, that's what you should be doing. You should be in watch and wait mode. No reason to take any precautions as of yet, but it's always good to have a hurricane plan. And friends, as we take a quick second and a quick pause in the video, I appreciate you guys taking a second and hitting that like button for me right now. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, come join a fantastic weather community. You want these tropical updates, your daily forecasts across the Caribbean and the Bahamas, you have found your home. Thank you for sharing this with your family and friends. Appreciate those who are members. And if you are a Team MM member, I sent you guys an exclusive member video earlier today giving you the first heads up that that system, that wave in the Atlantic, was an area that was highlighted by the Hurricane Center. So if you want to join Team MM, the simplest way to do it is the join button. $2.99 a month to get access to exclusive member shorts. For as little as 99 cents a month, you can become a supporter of the channel as well. Appreciate all of our members, and the great news is memberships are now available on Apple devices, on iOS devices. Again, 20% chance of development from the Hurricane Center at this point in time. We'll monitor. We've got some time to do so, and likely that development chance is going to increase based on all of the model information that I see right now. Let's get into your island by island forecast. So I want to go back over to the model real quickly here. We'll bring up the short-term version of this because I want to talk about how we're going to continue to see this trough impact us with some heavy rain. And I am concerned about the amount of rain that this trough could bring, combined with the next tropical system coming in by the end of the weekend and into early to midweek, and how widespread some of these significant rain could end up being. So while you think about that for a second, I'm taking a quick sip of my tea, wet the whistle, and we'll move on. Again, this trough is elongated east to west, but it also is slowly sinking off towards the south. So if you live in places like Haiti, the Dominican Republic, Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands, and much of the Lesser Antilles, get prepared for additional heavy rain on your Friday. It's likely to break apart a bit on Saturday, but you can see as we get into Sunday and Monday, the wave is coming in, and now we're going to get another slug of moisture coming in from east to west. So all of this activity is trying to push off towards the south, and the next tropical wave moves in and brings the potential for some significant, additional heavier rain into the latter part of the weekend as well. So I am concerned about when you combine both systems, how much rain can actually fall, especially if we're talking about some parts of the Leeward Islands and maybe even farther south than that, getting over 6 inches of rain by tomorrow morning. It's isolated to get that amount, and luckily it does look like this next disturbance is coming far enough south where the areas most impacted by what's been happening now, it's likely to be a little bit farther south to see the more significant rain like Barbados and St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and the Grenadines, Grenada, and TNT, again, starting on Sunday. But there's just copious amounts of moisture that'll be working its way through. It'll ultimately dry out a little bit here in the northern side into the greater Antilles, but not by much. I'm expecting scattered showers and some locally heavy rain to continue across Jamaica and portions of the Cayman Islands. Again, just does the heavier rain fall over the islands? More than likely, yes. I've got very high chances there. Look for increased rain chance overall in Central America and Quintana Roo. Now, again, this will be localized in nature, and a little bit further north that you go, more scattered. It's not going to be a washout over the weekend for Cancun and Cozumel, and for Belize City and the Bay Islands of Honduras, Roatan, Utila, and Guanaja. But rain chances should improve a bit. Some of you may not mind that, as hot as has still been here, with some pretty hot heat indice values at this point in time. But again, we're just kind of water loaded here. The area that is likely to be driest is behind the trough. We could still see a few light spotty showers over the Bahamas, but at this point in time, I'm not expecting a lot, with many dry hours and locations overall here. If we see a little bit of rain, guys, that's just really limited, shallow moisture. Nothing should be heavy over here. Now, what's interesting is that this boundary could stall out a bit right over the Cayman Islands, the Turks and Caicos, and this is an area that could see a little bit higher rain chance overall. Rain chances are likely to be decent over Bermuda the next day or two. You can see that, again, this is our non-tropical low that's spinning away into the North Atlantic, but there's still some moisture and a lot of wind associated with it as well. And that trough, again, elongates itself from that low, and that's what's coming back into the northeast sides of the Caribbean. You get the idea. It's going to be wet before our disturbance moves in, and then we got to watch out for early to mid next week, not only with the tropical development chance, but the additional heavy rain it could bring. So again, our driest areas, the Bahamas, portions of Turks and Caicos, though a little bit better chance on Sunday. Improving rain chances in Cuba. Elevated rain chances continue for the Cayman Islands. Building rain chances in Belize City, staying with a moderate rain chance in Cancun and Cozumel. Higher rain chances overall for my friends in Jamaica right on through the weekend. The Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico in store for additional widespread heavy rain tomorrow, and then back to a moderate chance on Saturday and Sunday. The Virgin Islands, still an elevated rain chance tomorrow, scattered Saturday, Sunday. Bermuda's rain chances fall off again as the low pulls away. Anguilla, St. Kitts and Nevis, highest chance tomorrow, but still a pretty good chance on Saturday and Sunday. May not be as heavy of rain Saturday and Sunday, but it will depend on where that disturbance goes. Again, at this point in time, it looks to be fairly low south in latitude, but if it wants to try and creep up a bit, some of the heavier rainfall will go farther north in the islands. At this point in time, I think it's farther south, which means rain chances should fall a bit starting tomorrow through Sunday in Antigua, Barbuda, and Montserrat, but still additional heavy rain localized through Friday. Guadeloupe, Dominica kind of in the middle, so rain chances wane a bit Saturday, but build on Sunday. And again, you live south, Dominica, Martinique, St. Lucia, SVG, rain chances on the rise with that disturbance coming in. So from an isolated chance tomorrow in Barbados to widespread showers and storms. Obviously, surf and sea conditions are likely to be churned up with this. I'll be monitoring that for you guys as well. Improved rain chances for Grenada on Sunday, building rain chances to a 70% chance in TNT, Suriname and Guyana with widespread showers and storms, isolated to scattered in Nueva Esparta. We'll see some localized rain and storms Friday night into Saturday in the ABC Islands. So when we look at your wave heights, again, this model is based off the GFS. So first of all, that area of low pressure off the United States East Coast churning up the western side of the Atlantic Basin. Then we look into Sunday and Monday, and we'll start to see the fresh winds come in and watch the development of that next storm. Now again, we don't really want to focus so much on exactly where this is, but just note that if this does develop, we're likely to get double-digit waves in the Eastern Caribbean, and ahead of that, probably still some 6 to 8, maybe even 10-foot swells coming into the Eastern Caribbean and the Lesser Antilles beginning on Sunday. I'll be monitoring that situation. So the bottom line is there could be some 3-meter waves and swells coming into this ahead of it. Now, this is a snapshot of the rainfall totals through Thursday night, so about a week's time. This is on the European model. There's hardly an area in the Caribbean that is not going to see 3, 4+ inches of rain. So it's pretty ridiculous that it's that widespread, but that's what you end up getting. Again, only the Bahamas likely to see drier than average conditions, everyone else with an elevated rain chance ahead. That's regardless of tropical development. There's just that much moisture in play for the next 7 days. Friends, you know I've got you covered, and you can follow us across all of our social media platforms. We're on Instagram, TikTok, where from time to time we do some exclusive content. You can find us on X and Facebook. As always, you want to send me a picture or video, and I love to get them from you guys. The simplest way to do that is going to be mymediamundo@gmail.com. Of course, always include where the picture or video is from. You want to give me an idea of what's been happening with the picture and the video. I appreciate that. Please remember, Meteo Mundo is sponsored by the Lean Law Firm of Central Florida, your hometown homeowners insurance attorneys, offering free consultation and policy reviews. They'll walk you through every step of the insurance claim process. You got nothing to lose. Check out leanomnilaw.com. You have a question about the forecast, drop it in the comments section below. While you're down there, I really do appreciate, guys, from my bottom of my heart to you guys. Thanks for taking a quick second. Hit that like button and subscribing. I'll be monitoring this very, very closely. I've got you covered. I'm back tomorrow with the latest, and I'll see you here at Meteo Mundo.